Okay, we have come to the part 2 of the contract management class. Okay, out of all the major contractual issues, I think it doesn't run away from time, cost, quality, integrity of the project, and then other minor issues and other minor and major issues that is involved. So we have gone through time issues with contractual management. Now we are actually going to be looking into the other major component, if not the most major component. Actually, in terms of contract, in fact, besides time, cost is the biggest issue. But cost actually, or budget, costing, or estimations, these are the, if not one of the most important issue, it is the most important issue actually. Most contracts will actually be very, very careful when drafted with regards to money matters. So these are all issues that are regarding to money matters, and we'll be concentrating on a few of the more critical and more typical money issues in the contractual agreement. So as I have mentioned before, when we have a contract, you need to have terms and conditions. In a lot of engineering contracts, we do not actually write our own terms and conditions like from scratch, because we're not lawyers, you see. So we depend a lot on professional bodies and also authoritative bodies like JKR, federal or JKR Sarawak or JKR from the state, professional bodies like IEM, CIDB, and PAM, Pertubuhan Architect Malaysia, to actually draft a very standard form of contract. This is like a one-size-fits-all t-shirt, which actually will cover all of the issues that is mainly will happen in most of the site for contract manager to practice and to actually administer the contract. They are quite standard. These are the standard things that would usually happen for every site. I mean, every project, yes, it is a very specific project, but it is not talking about the characteristic of the project. It's not talking about whether it's a road. It's not a technical detail. So these are all contractual matters. So contractual matters, how you handle contractual matters, it doesn't sort of like run too far away from one another in a specific contract. For example, if we manage time, if we manage cost, if we manage materials, if we manage machineries, if we manage instructions, these are all very, very typical issues. So for standard form of contract, these are the general terms and conditions. I think I've mentioned that very, very, very clearly in the first class. You see the first set of notes. Now I just reinforce it because somebody was asking me about the students who will ask me, like contract, is BQ a contract, lump sum a contract? Yes, these are contract type. But what we're talking about here is actually contractual terms and agreement. So contractual terms and conditions in a particular agreement. Okay, so I hope you can get it right. Whether you have a BQ contract, whether you have a lump sum contract, every contract needs to have terms and conditions, and these terms and conditions are written for the project, or we can use a very standard format for it. It's like a one-size-fits-all t-shirt, or it is like a standard format, for report, standard, it's like when we have standard format for report, when we have standard format for presentation. This is standard format for an agreement. Okay, we've also went through the fact that there's relationship between client and consultants and client and contractors. Okay, and these are the typical agreement that we will get, or contract that we will get. See? So when you have, the most important thing is the contract with the contractor, or the contract with the builder, or the contract with the service provider. These are direct person who is actually in contract with the client to build the project. So basically the documents that bind the client together with the contractor, who is to do what, what is the what is the roles, rules, responsibilities of each of the party involved. You see, a contract will actually define the relationship and responsibilities of the parties in that specific project, see, in that specific work that is to be done. Okay, so a document usually comprises of the agreement, is of the terms and conditions, standard form of contract, which is the general ones, general terms and conditions, and then other parts of the documents can be like BQs, drawings, and also other information, site topography, bore log data, testing report, all these are part and parcel of the agreement. So the whole agreement will be like a whole stack of different documents that put together, and once that is signed, it will be binding between the contractor and the client. So these are basically binding. These are actually binding the law of Malaysia. These are a proper formal contract. Okay. And also, we will also have a client consultant agreement. So these are usually based on BEM, Board of Engineers Malaysia, because they are the they are the self-regulatory body for the engineers in Malaysia. So they have maybe some of the very standard formal type of agreement that most consultant and client can use with one another. So again, agreement is to state down who is to provide what sort of services, products, goods, and who is to pay, and who is to give certain responsibilities, certain duties to the other parties. And if you don't do it, there will be punishment. If they don't do it, there will be some form of remedial. We don't call it punishment now, but remedial action. So it can be termination, it can be repair, it can be reimbursement, in terms of money. So it depends on the remedial action. Once one party did not fulfill their portion of a contract. See, so but for consultant contract, they are quite standard. Between the client and the consultant. For contractors one also, like I said, the standard form is actually quite standard. You don't change the standard form, but you can actually have a separate, specific special conditions that to support your general conditions if possible. You want to, if there's a need to, you see. So of course we don't want to change too much, because we are not exactly what we call professional lawyers, you see. So we do not want to simply change wordings and all that, without a proper legal professionals involved, So that's why some organizations, they have their own legal team looking into all their transactions with their service provider or their clients and all that, you see. So it is quite important that these are done properly, because it can mean a lot of problems and project undelivered, or you pay a huge sum of penalty or reimbursement, or you can, there is going to be a lot of issues that is going to create a lot of losses for the company. So don't be surprised that for construction administrator, for contract administrator, our roles are very important. And these are usually falling back to the engineers to administer the contract, falling back to the architect, engineers, and also the project manager to actually administer the contract. It's very, very common to do it that way. So of course, there are terms and conditions. We went through time and time delays, and we went through how to analyze delays and how to what are some of the terms and conditions that qualify completions and delays and all that. So now, for this particular lecture, we will be focusing on money matters, so terms and conditions that are more focusing on payment matters, money matters, okay, financial matters. So we will continue in the next recording on the actual detail